Valrin sat beside Adanos. It had been 3 days since his wounds were healed. The fairy magic had sealed the wound, and although at the time, Rotho was confident he was improving, his sureness had begun to fade. The once captain of the truest bliss had not awoken, and his breathing had changed. "Storm is coming," he heard Bray say from behind him. The Roosist touched him on the shoulder. "I will stay with him for now. You've spent every night at his side, and you could use the rest." Valrin glanced at her. "I told you that I no longer need sleep." "Perhaps not, but you are the captain of this vessel. A captain should be on deck. I will stay with him for now." The chambers within the ship were well lit but empty. There were barren shelves and netting for supplies, but very little else. He went back up the stairwell and opened the wooden hatch at the top. He emerged on the deck to find Phaedis and Rotho both at the helm. "Storm is coming, Captain," the dwarf said. A long line of black thunderclouds were moving towards them, and the gusts of southern air were as salty as they were relentless. Valrin went to the pedestal and moved his hand over the crystal. The map showed vast seas around them, and no obvious place to take shelter. "We've moved south for the last 2 days, but we cannot seem to get there. The current and the winds are wrong. It's like the gods bid us to stay in this region." Phaedis went to the edge of the ship. "The gods can bid all they want, but this storm might have other plans of its own. I haven't seen one so big in quite a few years. Besides, the swells are really picking up. Perhaps we should head back north. It might be safer." Valrin shook his head. "Rotho, you've sailed on these waters for much longer than any of us. What do you think?" The dwarf grunted and looked up at the clouds. "Keep us angled to the storm. We should move east and try to go round. We have a few answers right now. If we can find a place to hide, it might be best." "Are we too far from Mira?" "Yes, and we could have a fight on our hands just to get that way," he replied solemnly. "There are many islands in the far north of the glacial seas, some not so friendly, and some flat abandoned. The ethereal qualities of the far north are a mystery to many. You have many places like Mira, and a bit to the southeast of that, Corson, but many places are frozen ruins of realms of beasts long forgotten. We are lucky not to have been swallowed up by some sea monster, to be honest. There are a few of those in the deep depths, or so the old ice dwarf stories say." "Great. Stories," Phaedis joked. Rotho gave him a sharp glance. "A man of archery is uncommon in these waters. What is your true story, archer?" "My story matters little, but I aim to make my past better. In current company, since I have little to hide, now I am from Taria, and have been gone from there for 6 years. Criminal? In a way, to some. I let those I love slip away." The dwarf laughed. "Then please, good archer, do not love us." Though it was meant to be in good humour, Phaedis just looked down, and then walked to the rear railings and stared out. Valrin could tell he was upset, and even Rotho seemed surprised by Phaedis' abrupt actions. Valrin wondered of where he came from, but did not go to him. It seemed best at this point to just let him be alone with his thoughts. The ship was cutting through the water at a now wondrous pace, for the storm seemed to be turning. That, or its grand expanse, was too much for them to outrun, and they were simply losing any hope of having enough time to escape it. "Have you thought of a name for the ship yet, Valrin?" Rotho questioned. He hadn't, and he hadn't really thought to name it at all. "All ships of the sea must have a name," he continued. "This one is no different. It may have powers and be a so-called realm ship, but it's a law of the seas that all ships must have a name." "A law? Well, more of a preference, really. A good luck type, thing." Valrin thought a bit and then looked across the waters. He had nothing that came to mind in the short time he'd actually been thinking of a name. "Well," Rotho said, "it's no matter, but you need to be thinking of something." As Valrin stared out across the water, he saw a haziness appear in the distance. The wind shifted, and Phaedis ran down to the lower deck. "This storm is drawing upon us. I will tell Bray to prepare herself."